new day dawns on South Carolina. It is important to learn about our history. We study our past to make a brighter future. As the waves repeat, so does history. This ocean is a witness of the beginning of a conflict back in 1861. It was in early morning on April 12th. In the distance, flags are struggling against the wind. Confederate artillery opens fire on Fort Sumter in Charleston Harbor, South Carolina. These cannons are symbols of the heavy artillery used in this fight. Some of these cannons fire 10-pound shot at 3,500 yards. The Union ordered caliber 8, 10, 13, 15, and they went from the Brown Rodman cannons. The cannons were pushed by several soldiers. Then they were positioned and fired at the right target. According to our history books, at least 168,000 to 700,000 people died in this war. The total area of South Carolina is 31,055 square miles. The city of Charleston is a witness to the start of the Civil War and the end of the Southern civilization, now gone with the wind. In 1931, Charleston passed the nation's first historic zoning ordinance in order to preserve the city.
When the Spanish went to start a colony, they would build forts and they would build churches because self-defense and religion were the most important things to the Spanish.
The section of Charleston close to the Battery possesses some of the city's grandest 18th and 19th century homes. South Carolina extends to the north and south with 218 miles. To the east and west, there are 275 miles. The memorials, historic homes, and ways of the old remind us of what once was. The Palmetto State is ready for whatever the future holds.
The one constant in life is change. It's true in our personal lives. It's true in the society, and where it's not true, you got problems. The old saying is, if you're not growing, you're dying, I think is remarkably true when you look at states. So what we've seen in our state is some dying of some industries that were the long bedrock of the way that things worked in South Carolina. Textiles used to be king in the upstate of South Carolina. But if you look at what's happened in China and Southeast Asia, a lot of that capacity has moved to that part of the world. So we have a dynamic economy, but we lost 95,000 direct textile jobs over the last 5 years, or actually about the last 7 years now. But the good news is there are more than 170,000 more folks working than there were 5 years ago in that same time frame. So we've lost some, we've gained some, and the part that we've gained have been actually higher paying jobs. You think about Google coming to South Carolina. It's indicative of the technology revolution that's occurring in the world around us. You think about Michelin or BMW, international brands, but they're here because by virtue of our geography, we're very, very well situated. We're midway up and down the South Atlantic. We're halfway between Miami and New York. And therefore, if you're a foreign company looking at coming into one of the real growth hubs of the United States of America, the Southeast, South Carolina happens to be right directly in the middle of it. Add to that, we've got 5 interstates that crisscross our state. The most active port outside of the combined port of New York and New Jersey on the entire east or Gulf Coast of America. And it says, whoa, we live in a global world, and not only are we well situated in the Southeast, but if you want to get product in or product out of this part of the world, this is a pretty good place to come. So we've seen a lot of growth that's come as a result of the port. We've captured a lot of distribution. You think about Target, or think about Walmart, or think about Dollar General coming to South Carolina to set up distribution facilities. A variety of terrains that you wouldn't see outside of any place other than maybe Southern California. I mean, there are very few places in the country where you can go from the coast to the mountains in 3 hours' time. You can essentially do that in South Carolina. And so we attract a remarkable number of tourists and a remarkable number of retirees who said, I'd like to go to Florida, but I'd like to be a day's drive closer to see my grandkids in Ohio. And so either they go to Florida and they decide, no, I think I want to be closer, and they move back up, or they never go there in the first place. And that's significant because we've got 60 million baby boomers marching their way toward retirement. I mean, we have an avalanche of graying in America that will disproportionately impact South Carolina.
South Carolina is known for its beauty, treating native and visitors to a stroll down the hills or to a hike up to the Caesar's Head, a peaceful and colorful place.
I'm looking for me some life lasting tea. Y'all looking for me.
South Carolina possesses so many beautiful places. One of these is Harwood Lake. Harwood Lake is a man-made lake in South Carolina. It is one of the largest and most popular public recreations in the Southeast. It was built by the Army Corps of Engineers between 1955 and 1963. Each year, millions of people visit the public parks, marinas, and campgrounds. Harvey Lake also helps with the flow control, hydropower, and navigation.
We do have 4 distinct seasons in South Carolina. The springtime, mild weather throughout. Once we get to the summer, it gets a little hot for about a month. But you can go to the beach and enjoy the beach weather down there. Once we get into the fall, it gets really, really nice. A lot of people like to go up to the mountains. A lot of people like to go to the lake, get the jet ski out, get the boat out. Once you get into the winter, it gets a little cold, but it's not going to freeze you to death. Obviously not as bad as big cities in the Northeast like New York or somewhere like Washington, D.C. And the realistic thing about it is not enough cold air comes south enough to make roadways a hassle to travel and make businesses sort of get bogged down with a lot of logistics problems. Let's get to the map. Here's where we live in South Carolina. New York, what we don't see across South Carolina is in the Northeast. A lot of snowfall happens every winter, and what it does is it really impacts travel up in the Northeast, and it impacts the daily lives. Everybody going to work, having to dodge the snow and cover up and really dress warm. And what happens is every wintertime, the jet stream dives down to the south. A lot of times it stays bottled up in the Northeast, and it's a consistent factor in the weather in the Northeast. What it doesn't do is dive down to the southeast on a consistent basis. Yeah, it rarely gives us cold shots, this jet stream, but primarily it stays up in the northeast. And again, it creates a lot of travel problems and really just makes life in the northeast a little bit hectic. So that makes South Carolina a much more desirable place to live. Now we go down to the south, you don't see a lot of snow, but what you do see, hurricanes in the summertime. And what more do we have to say about that? There's a lot of routes down to the south that are evacuation routes, and that makes travel difficulties down to the south in Florida. You also have to factor in property values and insurance values on those properties that are sky high. So people in Florida making their way up Interstate 95, and they really like the area in South Carolina because we really don't have the same problems with hurricane landfalls in the summertime. What we have that's consistent to South Carolina, mild winters, one hot month during the summertime, but hey, we're not melting, so it's pretty much a very, very desirable place to live when you factor in the northeast and the southeast with the snow and the hurricanes.
We have a lot of interesting places in South Carolina. In Charleston, in Columbia, but to the north and to the west, we have Greenville. Greenville is one of the most important cities in South Carolina.
I think we're also seeing a very large international community moving into this area. Again, projections being Hispanic population approaching 20% of the county. And it's not just indicative of coming from one Spanish-speaking country. It's coming from a wide spectrum of Spanish-speaking countries. You've also got council in the city proper doing looking at building parks. You happen to be sitting in my office here, that a block away is a city park that they took the major road, removed a bridge, put a pedestrian bridge that's won numerous awards and international awards so that folks can enjoy a $15 million park over a waterfall. Whenever I talk to anybody who's involved with the city government, their response to, my question is, Did you anticipate this many people coming and enjoying the park and their responses? No, it's beyond our wildest dreams. So the old adage from the movie, build it and they will come. I think Greenville proper has realized we've got to maintain our green space. The name of our town is Greenville. We can't be Cementville. We've got to be green, so we've got to keep that green there. They're taking old railroad tracks, turning them into bike paths, hiking paths, things that will enable us to be outdoors and still enjoy the green space. A lot of conservation movements. There was a lake that was polluted from old textile textile waste runoff that they've now reclaimed, and it's going to be some sort of conservatory for wildlife. Again, we know that if we have these amenities, we're going to be able to attract more people to our town. The more people we attract, it's that where do you stop? More industry comes in, more job opportunities. So they're very cognizant of that.
Greer is nothing like it used to be. Greer is absolutely changed completely 100%. Greer is just getting on the map all the way around with everything.
The city of Greer was established in 1873. In the downtown area, there are a lot of historical buildings. These buildings are a symbolical representation of the 20th century architecture.
The Greer Opera House, we moved here in '97, and we've been here ever since. My late husband and I was burned out at Powdersville, and we moved to Greer in '95 and then got here in '97. We love it. This is just like a big family. That was his dream, to keep a big family going, and that's what we have here. We have a lot of our people that are from the Greer area, but the majority is from out of town. The lower part of the state, Travelers Rest, up to Brevard, North Carolina. We have a lot of people that come from North Carolina every week. And so the majority of our people are coming from out of town. Ernest was married to music. That was his life's dream. When all the guys went to Nashville, he had a family and he said, I can't go. So he stayed in the Greenville area and he helped all these stars. He helped the people to get started in Nashville. Tammy Wynette, he worked with her. Lloyd Morgan was one of them. Aaron Tippin, when Aaron was just a young boy. Ronald Radford, played for Randy Travis. And even though he had cancer, he had to go and see someone on Friday night making music somewhere else, because at that time we only had the Saturday night.
First thing I remember knowing was the long whistle blowing and the youngest dream I drove me was to ride on a freight train leaving town, not knowing where I'm bound. No one to change my mind, but Mama tried. One and only rebel child from a family big and mild. My mama sings no playing store.
There's very few places that you can go and hear the classic country music, and that's what we project, is classic country, all of our bands. Now we throw in the old-timey rock and roll, we throw in bluegrass, so you can see about any type music, and we don't ever leave the Lord out. We always have gospel songs, and we remember our families that are sick. If we know they're sick, they need help or whatever, we're there to help them. And it's good, clean fun. We do not allow alcohol. We don't allow smoking in the building. We do allow children to come and be with us as long as the parents take care of them. But good dancing, you can just sit and listen to the music if you like. We have snacks for them to eat. And it's like as I've said before, it's just like a big family getting together for Christmas, because every week.
I like Greenville because it has 4 seasons. I love the spring, I love the fall, I like to watch the leaves turn, I like just the sense of 4 seasons, but winters are really not that terrible. You have 1 snow and 1 ice storm, and you can get through that pretty easily, and summers are very tolerable, so it's very moderate. I think they've done a wonderful job downtown. I think they've done a wonderful job of managing the growth downtown, and the growth on Main Street and down into the West End. I think is spectacular. And you can bring anybody from anywhere into downtown, and you can take them downtown and show them what's going on, and they're always very impressed. I think Greenville's challenges are out in the outlying areas, on Woodruff Road, on Pelham Road, where there's some growth that I don't think is being managed particularly well, because I don't think the infrastructure is supporting it. You get traffic problems on Woodruff. They're going to build a Walmart on Pelham, and that's going to cause incredible traffic congestion.
We're expecting another 1 million people to move to our state, basically here over the next 18 years, which is pretty remarkable. I mean, we got 4 million people in our state. You add another, 25% here over the next 18 years. I mean, that's a big addition. And I think probably one of the issues that's going to become increasingly significant will be growth management, in fact. If you look on the coast, or you look in some of the bigger metropolitan areas, people would say, I don't want to be stuck in traffic for 2 hours. I can do that in Atlanta, I can do that in Charlotte, I can do it in New York. I don't want to do it in South Carolina. I moved away from New York, I moved away from Detroit, so that I didn't have to deal with that. So I think the growth, of holding that balance where you retain the quality of life that attracted people here in the first place, with the fact that more people are coming, that's going to be a big deal. I would say that the other riddle in our growth will be how do you distribute it? There's still some areas of our state that are very, very quiet economically, and there aren't a lot of new people moving in. There are, in fact, people moving out. Then you get other places like Charleston are just exploding, or Hilton Head exploding. And so the idea of making those rural areas more enticing. So somebody says, I'm going to commute back and forth into Charleston, but I'm going to live in Walterboro because it's cheaper in terms of housing, and I can, see more of my kids once I am home, and I want a simpler life. I think selling the virtues of small town living, not necessarily as a destination for industry, but as a commuter spot to work from and enjoy a great quality of life, is going to be another riddle that we've got to look at as we deal with growth here in the state.
The growth, especially here in the last 10 years, we've seen a big growth in the amount of people coming from up north. New York, Michigan, some of those other northern states, we've had a lot more people move down here, and a lot of people from Florida are moving up here as well. So Greenville is really starting to basically become a melting pot for people all over the country. We hire deputies. We've got one deputy that used to work in California. We've hired several from Florida, several from Michigan. So we just see it, and most people are moving here because of the cost of living, the good schools, and the other just positive things that we offer that they can't find elsewhere. The law enforcement community has kind of matched the rest of the nation as far as who's moving down here, because we see more people moving from up north down here, but we're also hiring more deputies that are coming from the northern states. So fortunately, the sheriff's office has kind of been able to flow and kind of emulate the community itself. I like Greenville. I'm from Charlotte originally, and my parents still live in Charlotte, so I know a little bit about a bigger city, not necessarily a large city, but a little bigger city. Greenville, for me, is just big enough that if I and my family want to go do something, we can. There's enough stuff in Greenville. The climate is almost perfect. We've got all 4 seasons, which other places in the country don't have. You either have summer or you have winter, or one or the other. But we actually have spring, summer, fall, and winter, and I like that. And Greenville just has a lot to offer.
I've got a sense that not as many people are going to Florida anymore. And there are a lot of people from up north that are moving down south. And with Charleston and the beach, and with Greenville being close to the mountains, I think those are both wonderful locations.
As to vision where I see things in 20 years, it's my hope, and I just stress the word hope, that we'll be a state that's second to none in affording a great quality of life for people to build a family or build a business. If we can get that right, then we really do have something special.
Greenville just has a lot to offer. It's got a lot of growth. It's got a lot of educational opportunities, and for me and my family, Greenville is the perfect size. It's not too big, but it's big enough to have some things of interest, some things to do, and so we like Greenville.
I consider myself fortunate to be here. I've had numerous opportunities to leave this town, and I'm not going.
Take away the arms that always hold me tenderly. Take away the lips that say they love me.